Hi guys, Brad and Sweet Vapes here. Today I want to show you a little bit about the Flair mod and some of its adjustability. It's rather unique on some of the adjustments. I don't think there's really anything out there that has the capabilities that this does. The body material, for one, it's gorgeous looking stuff. If anything gets scratched, dented, any part of the mod, it can be sanded and buffed back out with your 4 typical compounds. Black emery, gray stainless, white rouge, in like a yellow or pink jeweler's rouge to finish up. I did brush the tops of these and then polished them, so they have a nice mirror to them, but they don't show as much fingerprinting because below the mirror there is a very slight brush just on the tops and bottoms, the larger surfaces. I thought it was a nice looking finish that way, but I made a few changes again last minute before these went out here. I had to Dremel this little skull shape into the top of this thing here for the nut on the jam nut on this connector to be able to spin freely in there and adjust, because the hole is not much play. So, and then I wound up adding little vent holes, as you can see right through there on each side, for safety reasons, in case you have a battery failure that vents. Now on to the adjustability. This is your contact for your switch. I chamfered the bottoms of these also last minute here, because not every screw was perfectly centered in here that the hinge is on. So this will help self-center it. Obviously, if you have difficulties turning your screw, then don't force it, because you're cross-threading. That can be adjusted up and down to change the throw of your switch. There's not a lot of throw to the switch itself, maybe 1 to 1.5 millimeters, but you can essentially adjust between there and 0 throw on your mod, which does have a lockout ring on it, just like the GG switch. They locked, unlocked. Let's see. Adjustability. Here is the connector. It has a jam nut screwed onto there. There is a dowel ring cap, and inside you have a brass conical spring. There's a large pin dropped in, brass pin dropped into the cap, and your center pin dropped in to too many things in my hands. Large pin sticks out the bottom, center pin inside of there. Put your brass spring in, large side down so the point is sticking up, and stick the point into the smaller Delrin isolator to make contact with your center pin. This pin is spring loaded. Has about a millimeter of extra height than what's needed, so your addy makes contact about a millimeter, about a full turn before it bottoms out, which allows you to be able to adjust this. Jam that all the way down, thread it into your plate. It puts you basically flush on most units. They were all made by hand. They all vary slightly. Some of the thicknesses are different. You may be able to get it to come out a little bit, in which case you'd have to back it off a little and then tighten your jam nut up to make it flush. Say I'm using a Genesis Atomizer and I want to control where my wick is in the liquid versus how I'm holding the mod. I know this isn't a Genesis, this is my Immortalizer, but right now I'm lucky the air hole points pretty much towards, oh, right there, yeah, it points right towards the switch. So now if I'm holding my mod like this, the air hole is down. So if it was a Genesis, my wick would be in the liquid where I would want it. Say I hold my mod on this side, I can loosen this and play around with where it sets. You'd have to loosen the addy, spin this down, and kind of tighten both up at the same time where you would like it. Here we go. Now I'm tightened down 180 degrees out from the switch. Oh, well, there's an air hole on both sides, but I can go, here's all the way down. I can back that hole off. Here's 90 degrees. I can adjust this basically anywhere I want based on how I want to and then once you got it where you like, take a little fiddling around and playing around. But if you're using a typical addy with this mod, you adjust it once and it's set up perfect always. Okay, here I adjusted it 90 degrees all the way tight. Now I may like to hold my mod like this with my thumb sticking straight up instead of straight up this way but now my wick being 90 degrees is able to still be in the liquid. You get the gist. It's kind of cool, something different, and I think it's a unique feature that you're gonna like, to be able to get your vaping to where you like it. One last thing, I was having some issues last minute as well with the door of the mod, some of the mods not staying snug to where they'd come loose. So what I did is I used blue thread locker, which can be picked up at any automotive shop, hardware store, home centers, pretty much all over the place. The blue is a medium strength. I'm hoping that's good enough to hold. So far it seems good. If it does loosen up on you, you can always pick this up for a couple bucks and back your screw out. Put a little on the body of the screw, not on the end. You don't want to interfere with your switch contact. Back it out about halfway, put it on there. Your threads only go up about this high anyways that it's threading into, so only needs the body part. And run it back in, let it set 24 hours to set. You should be good to go. If it persists to be a problem, they also make a red, which is stronger. I just didn't want to make it to where it was permanent, so I went with blue. And so far the blue seems to be working good. Sometimes going clockwise, opening the door clockwise, it grabs on the screw head and gets tight. So I like to just always spin it counterclockwise, go all the way around. But clockwise works sometimes too. There, see, this one gets tight. So counterclockwise to open your door seems to work best. Just counterclockwise all the way around. These are made to use an IMR cell. Typically I use AWs. It's a 18490, nipple side down towards the bottom. That way, that's the way it vents, is out the nipple end. It vents towards your vent holes. And you're good to go. Oh, one other thing. I am also sending this with 2 small spacers and a magnetic spacer. These are only needed if your connector doesn't screw all the way out. Some will, some won't, depending on the thickness of this. But if your connector doesn't screw all the way out, to expose the 4 little air channel slots that are in it, you can see one right there, kinda. It does have 4 air channels. If you're using, say, like an Odysseus, something that draws air through the bottom of the connector, you obviously don't want it to seat all the way tight onto there because it won't get air. So what you'll do is I can take off the jam nut and typically use both spacers on there and screw it back in. Now, if you can tell, I am just raised just a smidge above to allow those air channels to stick above the top. Now, of course, this will create a 1/2 millimeter gap, which you would need for that type of addy. I personally don't use those addies, but You know, personally, this mod is perfect for a dripper or a Genesis, you know, or something along that lines. You know, I'm a big fan of the Prometi by Art Exhale. Got the tank, don't have to worry about it spilling. It's a great little addy. Hats off to the Ukrainian modders group there for making that device. So there you go. I think I've covered all the adjustments pretty well. You know, feel free if you have any questions or comments or problems to contact me. I will resolve them or help you answer your questions or whatever you have. I will be getting some spare springs for the switches and the connectors. I'll have the switch ones in another week and the connector ones probably after the new year. So those of you who have pre-ordered, I will be sending you a spare set. And because you guys waited for a while for this project to happen, I'm going to take care of you. But I will wind up having them available on the site. Spare parts, spare washers. If you use these two spacers and move that up for your airflow, that's where the magnetic spacer will come into play. You won't be able to, you might not make contact, so you might have to pop that spacer on the negative end of your battery and then stick it in there, nipple side down. Because you moved your connector out farther, you may have made it too loose inside of there. But there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the mod. And we will talk to you later. Lots of new things going to be coming in the future here. I got a lot of ideas. Thanks a lot. Have a good day, you guys. Vape on. Stay safe.